Hey guys, it's Aaron Farmer here with My Sugar-Free Journey, and we are in day 18 of our 28-day challenge, so we've only got 10 more days to go. Today we're going to be talking about some of the different arguments that food companies use to put more sugar in your diet, and kind of maybe try to go over some smart responses to those arguments. So yesterday we were looking at how the food industry justifies adding sugar to your food. And again, today we're going to look at some of these arguments that they make for adding sugar, but especially fructose, and why they say it's a perfectly natural, even a good thing, and you can add as much fructose as you want to food, and it won't harm you. Number one, fructose doesn't raise blood sugar. Well, this is actually true. Fructose has a very low glycemic index, which means it doesn't raise blood sugar because your body doesn't process it as a sugar; it processes it as a fat. But whenever fructose is found, whether it be in natural foods or in foods with high fructose corn syrup added, the fructose comes along with glucose, and the glucose does cause an insulin spike, and it raises blood sugar. And at the same time that's happening, fructose is directly causing an increase in fat deposits around the liver, which makes insulin resistance worse. And for a while, the American Diabetes Association was telling people to eat more fructose because it didn't cause a blood sugar spike. Well, no, it just made you fatter because fructose was processed as a fat by your body, and it made you fatter, which made you more insulin resistant. So that when you did eat a little sugar, your body had a much harder time getting rid of it. And now the food companies want to add more fructose to our diet. Just avoid that stuff. Remember that every time you eat sugar, you're essentially eating a fat and a carb at the same time, because the body processes the glucose as a carb and the fructose as a fat. Both those things hit your liver at the same time, and your liver can't process them at the same time. So it just gets shunted off to fat as quickly as it can. Number two, we should switch out glucose for fructose. The food industry wants to create a purely fructose sweetener to use instead of sugar or high fructose corn syrup, but they've been unable to get FDA approval, thank goodness. The reason is that while fructose doesn't raise blood sugar, for reasons we just talked about, it appears that it does bind with cellular proteins and do damage within the cells of your body. So fructose does cause some damage, and if you do it in small amounts, from a piece of fruit every once in a while, it's no big deal. But if you're getting straight glucose from the food that you're eating every day, it can cause some real damage. An increase in fructose consumed would make this problem worse. I don't know if you guys remember Olestra. So Olestra was a fat substitute that was supposed to revolutionize the food industry by enabling us to get rid of fat in our food, and all the fat was going to be replaced with Olestra. Well, the problem with this is that the reason Olestra was a good fat substitute is because our body didn't absorb it. Well, if your body doesn't absorb it, it just comes, leaking out the other end. And I remember reading those message boards of people, eating Olestra, and some of them had to wear diapers because it was just your body couldn't process it, and it just came out. Without getting too graphic, but it was a big deal. And now the food industry wants to put fructose in our diet, and it appears that pure fructose has the same problems with absorption. It may actually cause the same issues. So if the food industry ever actually gets that to market, I would avoid it like the plague. Number three, all the info you need is in the food labels, and there's actually been some movement on this front, because starting very, very soon, we're going to be getting a line on our food labels that say added sugar. So we're going to be able to know how much sugar has been added to the food, as opposed to how much sugar just naturally occurs because it's in the ingredients. So, for instance, tomato sauce has added sugar, but when you look right now at the food label, it tells you, let's say, 23 grams of sugar is in a serving of tomatoes or of spaghetti sauce, but you don't really know how much of that sugar comes from the tomatoes and how much of that sugar comes from added sugar or added fructose that the food company put in. Starting soon, we're going to be able to make that distinction. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's going to open people's eyes up to how much sugar is being added to our food. And remember, it's not the sugar that occurs naturally in food that's the problem, because usually natural sugar in a food is mitigated by the fiber that's also included in that food. For instance, eating a whole peach is not going to cause any harm, but eat that same peach that's been canned, and it will cause a huge insulin spike because it's been canned in sugar syrup. So it's not a whole food anymore. It's been coated with sugar, and you get probably 5 times as much sugar from a peach that's been canned than you would if it was a whole peach. And remember, for a long time the added sugar wasn't available to us, but at least now, starting soon, we're going to be able to make better, more informed decisions about our food, which is a good thing. And number 4, this is the fourth argument that the food company uses to add more sugar to our food, is that they are just filling a need. Well, the food industry would like to make us believe that they're just filling a demand, that people want more salt, more fat, more sugar, and they want it in larger serving sizes. So that's what the food industry is giving us. But that isn't true. The food industry is actually creating this demand with an incessant marketing campaign designed to drive desire. Next time you watch TV, count how many of the commercials are for food. It's like all of them. Now think about how many times you've seen a commercial in your lifetime for Whole Foods. Have you ever seen a commercial for an apple? Have you ever seen a commercial for celery? These marketing campaigns are with us from birth, and they're designed to push us towards these unhealthy foods for a lifetime. In fact, the marketing campaigns are targeted especially at children, and there's no place they're safe from the message. They watch TV, they're going to be inundated with commercials about different food products. When they go to school, most schools have soda machines that the kids can access at any time, and the schools will actually sign exclusive contracts with the soft drink companies to keep those machines full and to put their label on everything. And then every once in a while you get a group of parents that have decided that they're going to take up arms and get rid of all the sugar in the school and get rid of the soda machines, and every once in a while they actually win and they do that, and guess what those soda machines are replaced with? Fruit juices. Because fruit juices are supposed to be healthy, but those fruit juices have just as much sugar as the soda. In fact, in some cases, they have more sugar than the soda because you can't get a diet fruit juice. Down here in the South, you would be really hard pressed to go to any kind of football game or baseball game or anything and not see a scoreboard that doesn't have a Dr. Pepper or a Coca-Cola logo. That's how these schools get these scoreboards. So even when they're at a sporting event, they're constantly seeing advertising for sugary drinks. And it's everywhere because they want to. So no longer is it a choice as you go through life between eating a whole foods diet or a processed food diet. Everyone's eating a processed food diet. So now the choice is which processed food you're going to eat, and that's why these food companies are driving your all this advertising to get you, not only to get you to spend more money on processed food, but to get you to want that processed food at a younger and younger age so that it's with you for the rest of your life. So anyway, the food company is actually creating this demand, and causing, they have their role in this obesity epidemic. And now food companies are actually rebranding some of their junk food as healthy. You can see at the store now that you can buy soft drinks with real cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup, as if somehow that's healthier. But you can get baked chips or whole grain granola bars that are still full of sugar. Don't believe the advertising. Processed food is almost by definition junk food, despite what the buzzwords on the packaging tell you. Stick with the whole foods, stick with the real foods, and stick with foods that don't have labels. All right, I appreciate you watching. This has been day 18 of the 28-day challenge. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure you never miss a video. And I appreciate it, guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.